I think it's great that a lot of people are taking a vested interest in their survival and prepping to, you know, be ready for hard times. Like recently, COVID hit, people had to be alone and isolated for 2 weeks in their homes. A lot of people are not ready for that, and not many people can actually, store 2 weeks worth or more of food at a time. But there are people that can, but they thought that that was never going to be a possibility. And then the government said, hold my beer. Let's go ahead and look at what Hippocrates said a long time ago. Let my food be my medicine, my medicine be my food. If you just have hardtack, or just plain rice, or beans, without anything added to it to give you a good set of nutrients, you get a mineral deficiency. People can die over that. People still die to this day because of mineral deficiencies. Don't believe me? Get a plane ticket to Africa. Or don't. Yeah. So, nutrients. You need good macro and micronutrient balance in order to stay healthy and keep your immune system strong, right? So, I'm not trying to downplay everybody's knowledge or talk down to people, but it's pretty common. If you do just basic research, you'll understand that micro and macronutrients feed off of each other. You need macronutrients in order to process certain micronutrients, and you need certain micronutrients to get the macronutrients to go where they need to go in the body to heal, grow, repair, whatever. All right, or sustain. So that's pretty common sense, right? So everybody knows about that. All right. So the way we do that, if you're prepping, and is not just taking your rice and your beans or whatever and having that flat. You need to have additives in them to give you the good micronutrients, because you're going to get a lot of macros from your rice and beans, but what about your micronutrients? That's a little bit harder to come by. So you're going to need to get stuff that's shelf stable. So you're looking at powdered and dried herbs and spices. So we're talking about things like paprika and garlic, onion, powdered, or maybe flakes. Like here I have garlic flakes. It's from a local store, Three Bears, and it's very inexpensive, but get a little bit of water in them. They constitute into nice thick garlic slices. And then you've got seeds as well, which are powerhouses of micro and macronutrients, mostly macros, but you do get some micros, and it's very good for flavoring, like fennel seeds. Very good for that. And let's not forget, things like black pepper. Black pepper is actually something that I would say a lot of people they kind of underestimate the power of black pepper in a flavoring sense and in a micronutrient sense. So the next one is flaxseed. It does good in macro and micronutrients. And then, of course, all-time easiest one, sesame seeds. Now, then you have other things like ginger and stuff like that. You have rosemary, thyme, and stuff like that. So your herbs and spices get a good variety and collect a good amount. So, oils. You can preserve things like olive oil or whatever. You got to store it properly. You can do avocado oil. It's very healthy oil to have. I would recommend anything that's extra virgin as far as olive oil is concerned. You can get it from Costco for pretty inexpensive. A big thing of olive oil. It depends on whether you want it to be Italian or whether you just want it to be organic or whatever. That's really the only thing that's really been a deciding factor on the prices I've seen. But yeah, have these on hand and be ready to add them and have things that are going to help you get your nutrients through your rice and your beans and so on and so forth. And of course, have salt. Have like Himalayan sea salt, stuff that actually has other minerals in it and stuff. And also get like cayenne pepper or something like that. Because cayenne pepper is actually pretty healthy for you. And turmeric and stuff. Flavorings and mixes. So flavorings could just be those flavoring packets like the taco seasoning that you've seen, or the beef stew dry packets, or the steak rubs or whatever. And that might actually be good for downing that food and making it more palatable and somewhat normal. So mixes. So you can actually get certain things like soy sauce, and I would recommend like Bragg's Aminos. essential aminos or whatever. So it has amino acids, all the amino acids you need for muscle support. So we usually do that by getting red meat and the protein or whatever. Protein is important, but it's more the amino acids that are more important than necessarily just the proteins. So I would get something like that and store it, like Bragg's Essential Aminos, which is organic soybeans. And that would be a great thing to add, because one thing that people can lose when they're living off of something very basic, like rice and beans, is they can lose muscle mass. And it's not from, a lack of working out or lack of, activity. It's more lack of nutrients, the appropriate nutrients, that is. So having a mix like soy sauce, like Bragg's Aminos, would be essential. And then other mixes like powdered milk. If you store powdered milk, you can have nutrients on hand that you can get from milk. It's very good for you. So other things, drink mix. Drink mix, basic drink mix. It's not really the best for you as far as like the preservatives and some of the artificial stuff in there, but you can get vitamin C from it. Almost every drink mix that you can find at like Walmart or whatever has vitamin C in it. And so those things can store for a long time. You just store it appropriately and, out of direct sun and, all that other stuff, a coolish environment if you can. And that stuff can last a long time. And if you've ever lived off of water that you might have had to put bleach or some kind of chemical purification in, or maybe some muddy water that you had to filter out, doesn't taste all that great, does it? So if you have something like drink mix, it can make it more palatable, and then you're not, retching at the idea of hydrating. I have to do it now because the water that I was drinking in Afghanistan was from bottles of water that were sitting in the sun. You could taste the plastic while you were drinking the water. Never really been a water guy since, but every now and then I'll get a plain glass of water, but usually it's just a experience. So anyways, drink mixes can be really stellar. Maybe some hot chocolate and tea and apple cider or whatever. Stuff like that would be a good morale boost too. Last thing is test and experiment living off of this stuff for a period of 2 weeks, a month. Try to figure out recipes, experiment with different recipes, and test out these concepts that you have, like hardtack. A lot of people have this idea that they'll just be able to subsist on hardtack alone, that they'll deal with it being so crunchy and so hard because I'll be so hungry I won't care. I think you will care. When you're complaining that the lettuce just doesn't taste right on a McDonald's cheeseburger or whatever, or the pickle just isn't crunchy enough, or if you ever complained about food in any way, shape, or form, you might want to actually do a test and experiment on your concepts, because guess what? It's not exactly going to be a 5-star experience having to live off of rice, beans, and hardtack and other preserved things. So you're going to have to be kind of your own cook and be able to prepare these things for yourself. Shelf-stable items aren't exactly the tastiest, so you're going to have to figure it out on your own. So that's my recommendation. Don't just think I'm doing good enough just by having rice. You're going to need to up your game. You're going to need to learn a little bit more. You're going to need to be a little bit smarter than that for yourself, for your own well-being. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. Go ahead and leave a comment below on any of your experiences or your thoughts, and you guys have a good one.